Welcome to the SourceFuse Talking Out Cloud. My name is Liz Grint, Marketing Manager here at SourceFuse. In case you're unfamiliar with SourceFuse, we provide digital transformation solutions and services, transforming the way today's most successful companies modernize and migrate to the cloud, using the most advanced cloud technologies and expertise. We've been proud partners of AWS for several years now and well on our way to becoming a premier AWS partner. And so with that in mind, today we are thrilled to be joined by Neerad Dwivedi, National Partner Lead for Windows on AWS at Amazon Web Services. So welcome, Neerad.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks for giving this opportunity to me.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you here. And what I thought I would start off with is by asking you just to tell us a bit more about your background and experience when it comes to Microsoft workloads at AWS.
Yes, Liz. So I've got overall 25 plus years of experience in IT, out of which 16 years is focused on purely cloud technologies. And as far as my experience on Microsoft workload goes, I was the one who started Microsoft Cloud Partner Program way back in 2010 in Microsoft for Microsoft India. I was also the one who started CSP program for Microsoft India. I was the one who was owning these two programs for Microsoft India. One was 2010 and second was 2014 onwards. So before I moved out, which was in 2016, I was managing Microsoft platform and Microsoft services for Microsoft India, looking after cloud program and CSP program for them.
Wow, it sounds like you've been a real pioneer in this space. So yeah, when it comes to on-premise workloads, what would you say are the biggest drivers for cloud migration?
Yeah, I think cloud is, as I said, I started cloud way back in 2005 onwards, when it was really difficult to explain people what cloud is. Today, we have come to a maturity stage where customers and partner ecosystem are there to pick up cloud from zero, where they were earlier not considering cloud at all. Today, cloud has become something which everyone has understood has already gone places, starting from government to private organizations to large to small. Every organization has adapted cloud, irrespective of the segment, irrespective of the type of organization. But what I see within my last, as I said, 16 years of selling and adapting cloud amongst organizations is one of the first thing which organizations look at while adapting cloud is reliability, where they are currently facing any issues with their current ecosystem. Either they have any software or hardware refresh coming up. So these are two triggers which I've seen to be leading the cloud adoption. Second is performance, in case any organization currently looks at their current workload, where they have to grow to a different level altogether. Either they have to fail fast, they have to adapt new technology and fail fast. They need to, they aggressively scout for cloud services. Third important thing which I foresee is security, where organizations look at security with a very different lens, because as we are all aware, in case any customer is having on-premise data center, the physical security itself becomes really a big problem. And to counter that, a secure environment with a data center or cloud service provider becomes their first choice, which is very, very highly secure environment with top level security, not only physical, but in terms of cyber security as well. That becomes another trigger for organizations. What I'm seeing nowadays, which is from last 2 years, when COVID has kind of uh, come and taken everyone with and paused the industry for some time and taken everyone by surprise. What I see is innovation is one more lever where organizations are looking at using cloud as technology, because as I said earlier, once they are sorted on their infrastructure, they are sorted with their current services, whatever they have hosted, they look at new technologies, new adoption. And for that, cloud becomes easiest and lowest hanging fruit for them to reach out, explore new technologies, new services. And in case they even have to fail, they can fail really fast using those technologies. And last but not the least, total cost of ownership, where organizations are looking at a certain expense, which is not only on infrastructure services, but the ecosystem which is there to support the complete IT and landscape. So that is the last level which leads and drives cloud adoption across organizations.
Wow. So I caught their reliability, performance, security, total cost of ownership, and then as a result of COVID, the innovation really driving.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. So when you start working with customers that are looking to migrate or modernize their workloads to AWS, what have you come across that have been the biggest roadblocks or challenges, and how would AWS address those challenges?
Yeah, again, as I said, these were not only the triggers for organizations adoption, but they were also the blockers as well. So many organizations who had moved into data center, they were facing issues of infrastructure being down because of some reason or the other. So that was one of the issues which they faced while going to some flavor of cloud, because those were the initial cloud flavors called private cloud kind of setup, where though it was much better than on-premise, but there were still some limitations because environment were shared. So those were the issues which organizations faced, and that was also one of the blockers which they realized for adoption of cloud. Second is initially for those kind of cloud environments, cost too used to be playing a big role, because in spite of uh, the environment being in a shared setup, the cost still used to be high because it was a private cloud kind of setup where not everything was in a shared environment. Then third, I think security played one more important blocker, because people felt that going to a certain flavor of cloud and where they were not getting enough security services on the fly from the service provider, they used to feel that because being in a shared environment, there might be some breach possible for their data. So that was another reason which was a blocker. And fourth is, I think, once even if they had adapted in terms of uptime, the issues were still there with the organizations. So I think these three, four were the blockers, and how AWS addressed this. As we are all aware, AWS has been into cloud services from way early than any other service provider. That is one, the largest and the most experienced cloud service player. Second is in terms of offerings, as per Gartner, we've been put into leaders quadrant way ahead than any other cloud service provider. And the reason is very clear. Gartner, as we are all aware, makes their magic quadrant based on not only the current services, quality, adoption, but also how we have created a roadmap for short-term and long-term cloud roadmap. So that is how they have chosen us as a leader. And not only from right now, it has been almost more than a decade. They have been chosen and kept us in the leaders quadrant way ahead than any other service provider, because our capabilities, current capabilities on cloud, because of our reliability, because of our ease of usage, and integration into other technologies. So those, and of course, the short-term and long-term roadmap. So because of all these reasons, we've been kept in the Gartner's quadrant, and that is how we have removed majority of obstacles for other from customers to adapt.
Yeah.
So that has helped us removing those obstacles, which are the basic problems or hurdles which organizations face.
Yeah. Wow, there's a lot going on there. I mean, as you know, Neerad, because you've worked with SourceFuse, we've got a lot of experience modernizing monolithic or legacy applications, leveraging microservices, things like containerization, API first model. But I wanted to ask you specifically, are there any AWS programs which support migrations and modernizations?
Yes. So, AWS has understood that every organization today, whenever they look at a cloud, is not only for migrating their current workloads, but many of those workloads are also either on end of life kind of software, or they are looking at using cloud in a very different way, which is a typical cloud native way, and how SourceFuse is able to bring that flavor of modernization, not only migrating the current workload, but also modernizing the workload, either taking them out of Windows ecosystem, which makes them less license friendly, which makes them cheaper to operate and consume. And also scaling up and scaling down becomes much easier, because once it becomes native cloud, then it is much easier for organizations to not only scale up, scale down, but use any other cloud native technology as well.
Yeah.
So I think we have created multiple programs, and SourceFuse as well has helped us using those programs for not only migration, but modernizing workload wherever needed. And with modernization, not only, as I said, it becomes cloud native, but also they bring the flavor of industry strengths, which are there as best practices in certain industries. So they are able to inculcate those best practices as well in the current application. So not only it is a step for modernizing the current workload, but it also brings in the best practices of the industry as a flavor in that certain application, which makes them, which makes customer harness cloud better. Not only helps them harness cloud better, but also brings the best practices of the industry so that they can compete better in their own field. So all that is supported with AWS backed programs, where we help, we leverage partners like SourceFuse to create those applications, to create those packages for organizations. And we support by not only providing the fundings, but also by providing the tools which are required in addition to whatever SourceFuse is already creating. So all in all, it's a combination which works, and we are happy to be working with SourceFuse to infuse those programs as well as technologies to reach out to customers and to modernize their current applications.
Oh, you know what? The feeling is absolutely mutual, and this is the importance of the partnership. In fact, people watching this video might be interested to know that SourceFuse were the first and only company to use your Windows modernization program in APAC, and we actually used it last year for travel tech company, and we're using it right now with an ISV. And I have to say, on behalf of the team, it is an amazing program. So what other benefits, Neerad, would you say you've experienced of working with AWS Consulting Partners like SourceFuse? So you mentioned a few, but what other things have you experienced?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, for a customer who is looking at either migrating or modernizing his workloads, he he himself is initially, as you said, there are many hindrances in his path. So a partner like SourceFuse can help them understand not only how and what should be the migration process or modernization process, but also helps them understand how other organizations similar to this current customer has gone through the process. So this makes them much more comfortable. As I said, then adoption of cloud becomes much easier for the organization. Then the second step comes where they are looking at not only adapting cloud, but also adapting new capabilities or adapting best industries, best practices from the industries. For that as well, SourceFuse can bring in those capabilities from those industries, which are best practices, which are new age applications, which are certain new capabilities which are already prevalent in the industry and being used as best practices can be inculcated in the current set of applications which are there with the customer. So not only partners can help ease the journey to cloud, but also bring the best practices for customers to be more competitive while they go and address their segment. And third, which I think is again very important, is because customers should be focusing on their own services more as against getting too deep into technologies, because then they defocus from their core operations or process, wherein partners like SourceFuse are very strong in not only migrating but also providing the managed services post migration. And they also keep on bringing in the best industry practices from other customers where they are helping adapt the cloud and the new technologies which they can expose to this customer as well. So all these are some things which every customer would be looking at while adapting cloud and while modernizing his current set of applications.
Yeah. So really working together in the best interests of the client always. Yes. So tell me, Neerad, what was one large trend you saw in the Microsoft workloads vertical in 2021? So I know you mentioned innovation earlier, but was there anything else that sort of stuck out from last year?
Yes, so I think cloud, as I said, COVID changed how organizations looked at technology earlier. So I can tell you, I was with EY looking at providing digital transformation to organizations, and I connected to more than 200 organizations, CIO level guys during my stint. And what I realized during the COVID time is certainly organizations were cornered to utilize cloud to enable technologies to their employees while they were working from home, to bring the new norm of adaptation to the new technologies, which they were earlier only thinking and they were not at all inclined to adapt. But certainly, cloud changed everything for them. COVID changed everything for them. They suddenly realized that in order to enable their employees who were working from home, they need to go an extra mile, start using cloud out of the box. And many technologies which they started using, and many of them knew that they can use and fail, but still the cloud would be the easiest way with minimum strings. So they started using cloud uh, for adapting new technologies and failing really fast. They started setting up new goals for themselves, where they were reaching out to not only their employees across a certain single region, but across the globe, with with enablement of new operations and new securities at the back end. So all that kind of raised the bar to a different level for organizations to enable their employees with not only their existing tools, but a completely new set of tools for improving their efficiency and in a most remote way. So, so I can tell you, this COVID changed how we were looking at cloud. And what I can tell you is these 2 years have accelerated the adoption of cloud to at least 5 years ahead. So all in all, not only the migration, but modernization of the current workloads has been on the anvil for majority of customers. And as I said, adoption of not only cloud, but new age technologies and failing fast is something which is seen across organizations.
Yeah. So for those companies, enterprises that were thinking about it, they were sort of, they had to get on with it quickly.
True.
So finally, Neerad, one last question. With all your years of Microsoft workloads and AWS experience, what's your prediction for 2022?
Yes, I think, as I said, majority of organizations are whomsoever have started adapting cloud, they will look at modernizing their workloads, because as we are all aware, that even if they have migrated their workloads in the legacy environment with the old legacy Windows 2010, 2012, 2016 kind of environments, they might not be able to leverage the cloud, new age, cloud native technologies. They will have to modernize their workloads, which is either in microservices kind of architecture or in something like serverless kind of architecture, in order to leverage more cloud native services, not only for their current applications, but going forward, in case they are looking at adapting new technologies, it becomes much more easier for them to adapt. So I think that is one change in Microsoft workload, which I foresee in 2022, where not only migrating, but modernizing their workload is going to be important for them. Second important usage or application which I foresee is consolidation of cloud platforms, where organizations who are using currently multiple clouds, they will either consolidate them into a single cloud so that they can leverage the data really well. Because as we are all aware, in case we want the real insights from the data, it has to be talking to each other, and in order to make them talk to each other, it is better to have it on a same platform. So to utilize the data and AI and ML, they need to consolidate their cloud in such a way so that they're able to leverage real-time insights from data. So that is another thing which I foresee is going to happen big time, utilization of data, consolidation of platforms for better utilization of data for real-time insights. And finally, as I said, have been saying, adoption of new technologies and failing fast is going to be the mantra for many organizations who were earlier not very deep into technologies, but COVID has taught them, in order to grow, in order to reach to new markets, in order to explore new markets, in order to reinvent themselves, they need to adapt. They need to, in case they need to fail, they need to fail really fast. So these three, I think, are the technology trends which I foresee in FY22.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Neerad. And I really want to thank you for joining us today. And I have to say, those predictions, fascinating, really interesting insights from you. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you too, and have a great day, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you. And to everybody watching the video, join us again soon for the next in our series of Talking Out Cloud.